Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to the Clarity Challenge. Today, we're going to look at the third challenge that you're going to face, that you're going to deal with as a single. We've been looking at the benefits of being single, the challenges that come with being single, and how to maximize that time when you are single. Single, whether as a widow, whether as an unmarried person, so far as you are in the season of life when you are alone, you're not coupled, then there are challenges that you are probably going to deal with. First and foremost, we talked about the fact that as a single, one of the battles that you're going to fight most of the times is that you're going to fight with loneliness. The second battle that you're going to fight is the fight of external pressure. But the third battle that you're going to fight is when you find yourself being the third or the fifth wheel. When you are the third or the fifth wheel, that means you find yourself in a situation where you go for a function. It could be an old boys association meeting, it could be an old girls association meeting, but you find yourself in the midst of people you've known for a long time, and everyone right there is with their spouses. Probably they're even with their children, and you find yourself the only person in that crowd, in that gathering, among old classmates, or even when they are not, but you find yourself the only person that is not married or the only person that does not have a baby. That can put you under incredible pressure. Even as a widowed person, you might find yourself in a situation where you come into a gathering and everyone is spoused, is married. Everyone has their children, but you're the only one person there that has lost their partner. It definitely is going to put you under pressure. As a matter of fact, there is not a lot of social situations that are more dreaded than being the single person among a bunch of couples. It's like being the elephant in the room, blatantly obvious, yet no one really mentions it. But the circumstance speaks louder than any amplification. This kind of situation can be very embarrassing. But then that depends on your own personal disposition. Sometimes this kind of negative emotions just overwhelms you. No matter how much you've worked on yourself and developed yourself, sometimes emotions can be funny. The way they crop up, the way they come up, before you know, you could be overwhelmed. Now, let me say this, it may help you. Number one, oftentimes situations like this are unavoidable. You may never be able to do anything about not finding yourself in this kind of situation, in which case you need to acknowledge to yourself that actually you probably feel uncomfortable. Listen, there will nothing be wrong with feeling uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, there is nothing really wrong with you that you feel uncomfortable. It does not necessarily mean that you're poorly developed. It's a fact. It doesn't mean, it may not necessarily mean that you've not worked on yourself. It may not necessarily mean that you're weak. It may not necessarily mean anything negative. Oftentimes, feeling uncomfortable is normal. All you got to think about is, now that you feel uncomfortable, what should you do? What a smart person will do in that kind of situation is to convert the experience and the situation into a wonderful learning opportunity. That's going to be one of the best things you can do. Sit back, observe the couples in the room, and then begin to ask yourself, what aspects of their relationships do you admire? What aspects of their relationship makes any sense to you? What aspect of how they cuddle, how they display affection publicly, how they connect, how they communicate, how they care, how they caress, how they pamper one the other. You just look at what they're doing and make up in your mind what for you is a take home and what is not a take home. It's an amazing time, a great opportunity to figure out what you want and what you don't want. Today, there is a sense in which I am inclined towards public display of affection, but it never was so. It came about from observing other couples, the way they function, and for me, why would I go into marital relationship? Why would I tell myself that okay, I'm responsible, I'm old enough to get involved in relationships, and then I'm shy or I'm uncomfortable with public display. A lot of people who say they're not comfortable with it, they're just being shy. I had to outgrow that because I began to look at other people, the way they did their relationship, and I made up my mind how I wanted to go about that. So I believe that if you intentionally take advantage of such embarrassing moments to create something out of it, it will be an amazing experience at the end of the day. The other thing you can also do, I think it's not out of place, it's an healthy idea for you to hang out with other like-minded singles in whatever category so that you can enjoy the freedom that comes with being single. Whether you like it or not, being single, it can turn out to be a period when you might have to fight with a lot of loneliness if you are not intentional, like we discussed before now. But then, the season when you are alone, the season when you're not coupled, the season when you're not married can also be an amazing opportunity for deep self-awareness that is so difficult to achieve when you are in a full-time relationship. It's an opportunity to amplify your individuality, to consolidate on your authenticity, to find yourself, to discover yourself, and to be all you can be that is possible. Never forget that the period when you are single can only be temporary. It's not going to be something that will continue forever. Therefore, it can be a wonderful time that you can really, really get to know yourself. It's amazing when we are able to discover who we are, our likes and our dislikes. Oftentimes, the challenges we have in relationships stem from people not knowing themselves. As a matter of fact, self-discovery is a critical requirement for partner identification or recognition. It is the extent to which you understand yourself. It is the extent to which you love yourself, appreciate yourself. It is the extent to which you know what your likes are, what your dislikes are. It is the extent to which you know your preferences. It is to that extent that you are able to identify the person that fits into your life and preferences. It is the reason why instead of always allowing yourself, find yourself in situations where you are embarrassed, it's always better you use the opportunity to find out what's okay for you, what goes for you, what switches you on, what switches you off, what's negotiable, what's non-negotiable. Put your boundaries in place and understand exactly what you want to do with your life. I believe that as soon as we figure out what we do and what we do not want from a partner, it will help our next relationship to be much more and a lot more fulfilling. Once you maximize, make good use of this season where you are single, it will be your greatest achievement, putting you in a state of preparedness for the season of relationship. In the class, we asked the question, we say, share a memory of a time when you felt the odd one out and how did you deal with it? That's an amazing conversation starter. It's an opportunity to share with your partner, for those of us that are in dating, or courtship relationships, as they share their story, it helps you know who they are, know where they're coming from, know their strengths, know their weaknesses, know their shortcomings, their inhibitions, know their smartness, know their capacity for dealing with complex situations, and it puts you in a better position to understand them and then to take the relationship to the next level. I want to believe that some of the things I've shared with you are going to impact on how you can deal with those situations you find yourself in when you look like the elephant in the room. I hope you've got value. I'll see you again. Thank you so much.